This week on the Yoakum Strength podcast, we have on Vince Wilkinson. Vince is an engineer captain in the U.S. Army and currently in the U.S. Army Warrior Fitness Program competing as a strongman. Throughout the episode, we talk about transitioning from a soccer player into competing as a strongman, coaching principles, giving people a reason to train, various strongman competition stories, and growing a social media presence. This was an incredible episode, and as always, thanks for listening.
Before we hit the intro music, I wanted to introduce to you guys the Yoakum Strength Insider. The Yoakum Strength Insider is our online training platform that takes all of the ideas that we talk about on this podcast and implements them into a program that is available to you at the touch of your fingers. Our goal with the Yoakum Strength Insider is to create better movers, to level up your life, and to move forward from where you are. We do this in a holistic fashion. Not only will you receive a program that has helped hundreds of people become better movers, you'll also receive access to our app that allows you to track everything, has video links for all exercises, and allows you to be in constant communication with a Yoakum Strength coach. Along with this, you'll get our 30-page PDF nutrition and lifestyle guidelines. That includes everything from what to eat, how much of it to eat, why we're eating it, meditation habits, and other lifestyle habits that we implement with our clients to really level up their lives. If you're interested in trying out one of these programs, use podcast 25 in the discount section right before you pay for 25% off your first program. Boom.
This is the Yoakum Strength Podcast. Take the leap down the rabbit hole with us as we interview elite level guests to unravel what high performance really is.
All right, well, Coach, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Excited to talk to you guys.
Yeah, Tristan just sent over the your profile and everything. Is like, we're having this guy on Wednesday. I went to your profile and I was crying this morning laughing at all of the skits and the videos that we got going. But one of the things that I enjoyed the most out of your videos is the ending on every single one, which is life short, lift heavy, go to the gym. And I think, dude, we talk about with Tristan and I mean, we're as guilty as anybody because we just had two super nerdy sports scientist guys on and we were talking about super minute stuff. But like, I feel like we talk about so many like in detail things and that's fun for us, like fitness geeks and nerds and everything like that. But we kind of a lot of times miss the bigger picture that people are just not going to the gym and people are just not lifting heavy weight if they do to go to the gym and people are just not training very hard. And I think that message is pretty dope. And I'd like to hear your philosophy on that.
Yeah, sure. So life short, lift heavy is something I've kind of been saying for a little while, just because in the gym and outside of it, to me, it just means like do what you can with the time you have and really like get after it, do hard things. So I've kind of taken that, put that in my content, and then the simple like call to action of go to the gym afterwards has really resonated with a lot of people like you're talking about. And another thing I always think about or like say is like big rocks first, which is like you got to take care of the big things. You know, you have to be going to the gym before you start worrying about the little things you were talking about, like really talking about getting in all the small things. Like if you're not going to the gym, doing the workouts, like eating good food, like that kind of thing, doing the simple stuff, you really don't need to worry about like the in the weeds, everything like that. But yeah.
Well, it's kind of cool too, because like, I think once you do start doing the big things, then the small stuff becomes even more interesting and you can like start to dive in and it comes like more fun as the big things get done. It's just like showing up and getting started on those big things. And like, I just found myself, I think it was like a year and a half ago, I was like really not training super hard. Like I was going to the gym, kind of like half-assing it. But I was so stuck in the weeds of like a lot of these theories and these philosophies. And I'm like, dude, if you want to like think about these things and whatever, like it's basically like a mental masturbation over and over again. And I'm like, go fucking try them. Like go actually just show up and train. And it started with like 100 softball swings every single day, kind of evolved into this Olympic lifting journey that I've been on. But it's like, it is such a fun, like real life testing of all of these ideas and all of these theories and all of these small things. And you're like, oh, now, like, I could have thought about that small thing for 6 months if I was thinking about it. I tested it in 2 weeks. It doesn't work, or it does work. I can go deeper with this. And I think it's like expedites the process of learning. And because I feel like it's the meathead thing to say, go train, right? Like that's like, it's like shamed now to like go tell people to go train and like go actually test these things out. I'm like, I don't think it is. I think it's a science-based way of doing it because you actually get to test these ideas that we're talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of my videos, or at least the feedback I've gotten, like it's reaching people that aren't like already in the gym or aren't like training like this or into the weeds, and um it's cool because you need to build that momentum. I think kind of like what you were getting at too is like when you start doing the big things, the smaller things like kind of come in place. So you start getting after those too, right? But at first, like man, just go on a walk, you know, like if you want from not training at all, then I've worked with clients and it's difficult to like start, you give them a 5 day, you do all this, you know, but it's like really just start doing something. Take that first step, start with the 1 rep, like go on a walk, do that, then start getting in the gym, then start worrying about that, like your program, then start worrying about all this X and X. But that comes once you've got that ball rolling, the inertia going. And it's like a snowball effect, you know, and
Dude,
then you can start
that's literally what I wrote down is the small snowball. I talk about that all the
yeah.
time of how, and like, again, I felt this in the past like 2 years of my own life of like, now it's super fun to show up to the gym because every time I go to the gym, it's cool. I'm doing cool things because I spent the
Yeah.
last 2 years getting to that point. But I pull myself back to even like 2 years ago when I was like, I was weaker than I had been like in the past. And like getting even myself started in that moment was like a really tough thing to do because I'm like, fuck, dude. I'm like, lifting less than I have. I'm not hitting any PRs, and I'm not going to for any time soon. And once you get the momentum rolling, though, now it's like I show up and I have a shot to PR every day. You know what I mean? Like, and that's super fucking fun. And when you get your athletes to that level, man, it is so much fun watching them like want to show up to the gym. But I wanted to know what got you started in the gym. Like, what was your first step? Did you have a moment where you're like, oh, my snowball, it's starting to roll. I'm starting to like become addicted to it. And now it's like obviously your job and like your life and everything that you're
Mhm.
doing. So like that's a huge snowball you got going right now. How did that start? What was that journey like?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like for me, it's always been like an almost innate like interest in being bigger and being stronger. Like I've just really loved working out and being strong. My father, I was fortunate, like I remember him taking me to the garage and we just had this little
Hell yeah.
dinky like bench press. It probably could only go up to like 100 pounds, but like we started there and then I got started in like middle school, just training. Um, and really enjoyed that. Kept it going through high school. I grew up playing soccer, so you don't need to be like that physical or that big or strong. But I always did pride myself on being one of the bigger kids and stronger kids, which is all relative because like I wasn't very big, but relative to soccer kids, you know. And it just kind of kept growing. It started with that, like we just talked about, like just going to the gym or garage, hitting these lifts, and then just keeping that going long enough to where now I'm where I'm at, taking those small steps every day, and now it's here. And now it's easy for like it's a habit. It's like part of my life now to where it would be weird for me or very hard for me to not go train, you know, because it's just like integral to who I am. So people ask me sometimes like, how do you do this? It's because I built it into my life. You know, it's just a part of who I am at this point. But yeah, it's just been like a lifetime interest, which is I'm fortunate, I guess, to have had that interest a long time ago. But yeah, just kind of expanded on it as I've gone.
So we kind of alluded to the fact that you do this as a living right now. Could you kind of
Mhm.
just give the listeners a quick synopsis of what it is you do? We've had Max Krieg on before, who does CrossFit for a living for the Army, but this is a whole different side of it, and I want to hear how you explain it.
Hold up before
Yeah,
you get to that point. Max should have had his shirt off the entire time he was on our podcast. That was the first time in your video I had seen him. I'm like, dude, this dude's a fucking unit, bro. He is an absolute unit. I had to text Tristan. I was like, holy shit, man. He had his shirt on too much during our podcast. It would have been way better clickbait the other way around.
that's funny. I'll tell him you said that. That's hilarious. Yeah. So you asked what I do. I'm a strongman athlete, right? And I'm fortunate. I'm in the Army, and that's my full time job. I'm a captain and engineer officer. Like Max, we've had different backgrounds, different things as an engineer. Currently at the U.S. Army Warrior Fitness Team, which allows me to focus on strongman pretty much full time. So it's both competing and performing in strongman, also doing outreach for the Army through the sport, talking to people at different fitness expos, which has been cool. Or I go to the CrossFit Games, talk to people there, that kind of thing. So it's a marketing aspect for the Army, which allows me to focus on the sport of strongman, which as a middleweight strongman, despite being a professional, there's not a lot of guys who have the opportunity to do it full time, you know? So it's a really unique and awesome opportunity, I think, to be here and do this.
Do you have to find ways? So like I feel like a lot of professional strongman or powerlifters, like it's kind of like their main gig. And like you have 17 other things going on with the army. Do you have to find ways to like make your training pretty optimal or concise, or how do you like fit it all in to be able to fit where you said you're an engineer?
Mhm.
Like I feel like most engineers, like they're working ridiculous hours and it's like ridiculous brain work going into that. How are you balancing that out with also being a professional strongman? You know, like are you having to optimize that workout and like find ways to train around that?
Truthfully, I think I'm probably just in such a great position here. So as an engineer officer, my old job, I was a horizontal engineer platoon leader. So we used to move dirt for like we used the bulldozers, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I come from. But while I'm here, I don't have an engineer job. Like in truth, my job now is just focus on strongman, get in here, train. So I'm able to prioritize that a lot more than I would say a lot of my fellow athletes, you know. So
Dude, they have a slow pitch softball team over there or what? I need to I need to get in on this.
I think there might be an all army. I don't know about slow pitch softball, but all army baseball team maybe somewhere. There's a lot of different like weird niche, unique stuff going on in the army that I don't think a lot of people know about, and you really got to seek them out, you know?
So one of the things that I know coming from like a pretty unique background too of like the Army WCAP stuff was scheduling and getting the competitions and like almost proving your worth. How do you make your schedules? Like, is there a national, like, is there a top tier competition for strongman that is, this is the pinnacle of what strongman is in the US or the world that I'm aiming for to compete in and podium at each year? Or is it a more sporadic schedule that you have to kind of plan and map out to provide to your leadership?
Yeah. Again, I mean, they support us in competing in the sports that we think there's value in. Obviously, we're going to be the subject matter expert of like strongman. I know that world way more than anybody else. So it's fortunate that they listen to me about what's actually important, you know. There is in historically official strongman games like world championship. It's up here in November, usually November, December timeframe. That's been like the world's strongest man of the middleweight class. I'm sure if you know like the Brian Shaws, Eddie Halls of the world, like the 400-pound guys compete at world's strongest man. Uh, so that is kind of like that competition for middleweight. And then there's a few others that also compete. Middleweight strongman's at like an interesting point where there's like 3 competitions that'll be called the world championship. So it's like, you take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, you kind of know there's like 3 or 4 big ones where the main guys will be at, you know, that it's really the best of the world.
And you just qualified for the strongman one, right? Like you said you were 11th and had to do that workout. What was that like? How was that?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was an online qualifier for the official Strongman Games. And it's like being an online qualifier, you can put in your lifts at any point leading up, like during this, I think it's open for a long time. So like
is everybody online, or is there also meets to go to like qualify as well? Like, or is it just the top 10 from that online one?
Yeah, there's different opportunities.
Okay.
Like the people from last year's finals get an automatic invite. And then there's a few regional events that you'll get you a spot, which honestly would have been, I think, competitively an easier route for me, because then everybody like who's really statically strong ends up doing the online qualifier one. So yeah, top 10 from the online goes. Yeah, I put in my scores pretty early on into that qualifier. And then you just I was like first for a while and then fourth, and then you slowly watch it like go all the way down the scoreboard. It ended up like, I think I was in 11th or 12th of the last day of it. So it's like, all right, we got to go send something, make it happen so we can get to this competition. Fortunately, I was able to do it and get, I think I ended up in like 5th, something like that. So yeah, punch the ticket.
But it's not like CrossFit where you have to do, because I had a buddy that was doing the online CrossFit games and he had to do like that specific workout that day. Did you just had to raise like certain standards? Like what was the actual online? Because you only did was it the shoulder press that day, the log press?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's 3, a little different than the CrossFit like open, to where you can go back. You have like I said, a long period to submit your best and you can redo it, that kind of thing. I think it was 5 rep max log press, 5 rep max deadlift, and max farmer's carry, like for weight in 20 feet, something like that. Yeah.
And but so on that workout, do you have to do them all in the same day, or is it just your best of those and it's a combined score?
Yeah, it's just best of those. So you can do them all different days. Yeah.
And then that 5 rep max on that log press, you were looking at the time while you were doing it. Is it just like under a certain amount of time? How does that one work?
Generally, yeah, it's generally under 60 seconds. So
Okay.
like I was able to, you can put it down, take a step back, take a breather, and go
Well, that's
back
why
into
I was thinking if it was 4 reps, I was like, dude, you got like 15 more seconds, like go and rip another
it.
one. But yeah, just a
You gotta
5 rep
get
max, that
going.
makes more
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
is the setup for that? Because I know on that CrossFit side, it's like the biggest pain in the ass for some people. Like you have to have multiple camera angles or like show yourself like weighing everything. And I can only
Yeah.
imagine that gets exponentially worse when you're moving and carrying heavier and bigger stuff. Is it the same exact kind of procedure?
Pretty similar. So that's why I ended up having to redo. I redid my deadlift and my log press. And it's hard to like, because you have to weigh the whole thing and then or record the whole
700
thing, and
pounds
then
on a
after you're
scale.
done, weigh each or show each plate to the camera and then weigh the bar or weigh the log. Like doing all of that and then putting all the weights back on and then adding more weight to do a next attempt, I've found to be very difficult because you're just putting on extra stress to yourself and then getting out of the zone to try to get back into the zone. So that's why I kind of have my what I'm shooting for that day, and then I did have to go back and do it again where I was shooting for that next top weight rather than being able to, all right, I'm taking this and now I'm going to try this next weight on the same day. It's hard. I feel like it's hard to do that.
What are the size characteristics for middle strongman? Like, do you have to end
Yeah.
up cutting weight or are you well within that reach?
Yeah, so there's different weight classes, and I don't think a lot of people know that about strongmen. They see like the monsters out there. They don't know that it's kind of available to more of the general public. So I think the smallest one, and it's all in kilograms, but so there's 80 kilo, which I think is 176, and then I think there's a 200 pound, and then I compete at 231, which is more naturally like the middle weight. And there's a couple other classes like 260, but then when you start getting higher and higher, it's just more and more just the open weight guys, you know.
And you were saying you're walking around at 250, right?
I generally will go right now I'm a little light, but I'll go anywhere from like 245 to 255 depending on what part I'm at, and then just cut down for competition, try to be back above 240 of actual comp day, because you'll weigh in like 24 hours out of the competition.
And how is, dude, that's what I'm wondering. Because, like, the only time I've cut weight is for wrestling. And I didn't even have to cut that much weight. Tristan, I know you did. But, like, dude, whenever I am just leaner, like a leaner person, my lifts just feel, it's not that they necessarily tank, but everything feels a little bit heavier. Oh, dude,
Boys,
take it
what's
off.
up?
Take it off.
They were just saying they need the shirt off.
Yeah, pop the top.
Oh, you need it?
Yeah,
You gotta
pop
get people what
top.
they
He
want?
watched you in the handstand video. He
Yeah,
said he
we
liked
saw the
it.
handstand video. Pop
Oh, you
top.
guys are into that?
Yeah.
You're
Pop
into that?
tarp.
Yeah. Stop,
Maybe,
dude.
maybe next time. You got to keep it professional.
No, dude, pop tarp. We need something for the headline.
All right,
I'll pop tarp if you guys both pop tarp right now.
Everybody rips their
I'll
tarp
pop
off,
tarp,
baby.
dude.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, but it was good to see you guys.
It's good to see you, dude. What was I yapping about? What was I asking about?
We were talking about
Cutting weight.
Cutting
about-
weight.
It's
Yes,
feeling
yes.
like and having like lifts feel like shit.
Dude, having to like if you're so you have to cut 20 pounds and then go and lift like it's the heavyweight part of it. It's not like a mental toughness thing. I just feel like it feels heavier to the body. How is that for you when it's like an actual strength event?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something. And you'll see people mess up weight cuts and then they get to the actual competition and they can't, like, they're significantly weaker. I've seen guys who are way better pressers than me go out there and fail a weight that, like, I'm able to do because they've messed up their cut or done something to where their body's they're just wiped, you know? To that end, you try as best as you can, or at least for me, for mostly to be like water weight, do like a water cut, and then you're able to get that back pretty easily. With that 24-hour window, you do have a time to do some, like, we call it a refeed, where you're trying to put that weight back on, get hydrated, that kind of thing. Definitely some science in there. I don't have it down perfectly, but you kind of get used to it. I also think, man, sometimes you just got to perform, you know, whether you're not feeling great or whatever else, it's game day, and you kind of got to just put that on. For one of my competitions last year, Minnesota's Strongest Man, my flight got delayed. So I'm in this weight cut. My flight got delayed to the next day. I'm still not at weight. So I finally land in Minnesota, day of comp, have to go to, I think it was a Lifetime gym, get in the sauna, lose the weight. And then I go straight to the competition, weigh in finally. So I'm like day of, an hour out, weighing in, which is not great. Have IHOP delivered there. Can't even eat it because my stomach's just like destroyed. So I go straight into the competition pretty much not having eaten in over like 2 days. So it's like sometimes you just have to perform, you know, like you don't have the option to not. So if you're gonna do it, you got to do it.
Just got to be a dog, bro. Is there a
Yeah.
reason you walk around at 250? Is that just your natural weight, or do you like training like when you're heavier and then bringing it down?
There's definitely an advantage to being to bigger, you know, like mass moves mass in some degree. So if you can, without overdoing it and depleting yourself, be like 245, water cut down, easily put that back on and be 245 again for your competition, you're going to have a slight advantage over guys who are true like 231s. There's, again, you have to do it well, hopefully not walking in 2 days depleted, that kind of thing. But yeah.
And then I want to talk about that too, like the diet side of things, because that's something within the recent like 2 years, the amount of excuses I've got from high schoolers. And these are like 160-pound high schoolers. It's like if you eat any food, you're gonna put on some size, dude. And
You're specifically sounds like you're working with high schoolers who are just giving you trouble. For me, again, it's like the big rocks thing, you know, man. It doesn't have to be super complicated. I think the Crock-pot's your best friend. Throwing stuff in there, meal planning, just having something meal prepped and planned, like you can do that in one day of the week and have that in your fridge ready to go. And having that ready to go is just going to make it easier to do that. Because if it's convenient, you'll do it. If it's not convenient, man, you'll go get a burger or something like that. And if they're trying to put on weight and they're struggling with that and just not, I think everybody struggles with thinking they're eating enough. Like when they're trying to gain weight or gain strength and they're like, I'm eating a ton, I'm just a hard gainer or whatever else. It's like, you need to just eat more, man. Or there's different things you can do, but it's like, just eat more. I think you're back now if you wanted to finish your question too.
okay, that is what I wanted to ask you, and like the simplification process of that diet. And like you were saying, the big pieces of just consuming more food. But I just started the Crock-pot journey for the first time in my life. We had it growing up and everything, but I've never was messing with it myself. Dude, I'm telling you, there's no bigger hack to the nutrition game for people that need to eat more food than the Crock-pot. It is one of the best. Like you throw just your ingredients in there and then you leave it be. You don't have to cook anything, and it turns out a delicious meal for you that you can eat for the week. It's so nice.
What's
Yeah.
your go-to meal if you had to pick one that you can throw in the crock pot, like the
Ooh,
pre-competition, like
well,
the week before meal that you're chefing up?
for what I did for a long time, and I have another fortunate thing about me is I can eat the same thing. If it's good, it's like good, I can eat the same thing forever. So I used to do like shredded chicken tacos, like for like the taco meat at least on like rice. And I would do that. That was my meal for I think years that I would just have for like lunches, you know, because it's super easy. You just throw that in there, throw some salsa in there, that kind of thing, and then make some rice and just put it all together. But yeah, I did that forever.
Dude, the last 3 weeks, all I've been making, I just throw 2 pounds of chicken breast in there and a sugar-free thing of barbecue
Yeah, that's a
sauce.
good one.
And
Yeah.
it's it, dude. I was making a meathead cookbook video on it, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna throw onions in here to like add something. But I'm like, I'm telling you guys, put those two things in there, let it sit for 8 hours, and you're gonna have the best chicken that you as a high school or a college age male is capable of making.
Yeah, super easy stuff. Um, you don't need to complicate it too much. Obviously, there's other stuff you can have, but if you're struggling, I feel like just simplifying it, taking it down to that stuff is so easy.
I had another question for the actual competition side. I know you
Sure.
had like those three specific lifts that you had to submit for qualifying, but with these competitions, are there standard events can they get pretty wild? Because I mean, when I see them, not coming from that world, I see some pretty crazy events pop up on the Instagram feed, and they might just be like one-off events. But do they get pretty crazy, or what's the wildest like strongman task you've had to do while in a competition?
For the most part, they'll follow the same. They'll be the same category, I guess. Like you're always going to have a press. It might be a log. It might be an axle, clean and press, that kind of thing. So there'll be different implements in that category to change it up, and it does change it fairly significantly, just because there's different mechanics. But if you can press a log, you can press an axle. You know. Same with the deadlift. There'll be different types of the deadlift: regular bar, axle bar, raised up 18 inches, like that'll change, but you'll always have stuff like that. Same thing with like some sort of carry, and then sometimes you'll have different types of pole events, stuff like that. So it's like the same events, not events, categories of things, but it'll change competition to competition. As far as The craziest one I've had, man, I'd have to think, but we've had like the Conan's wheel, which is always a fun one. So basically that one, you pick up this bar and it's like a thick bar. You pick it up, it's on your chest, and you just walk in a circle for as long as you can until you until you can't anymore. So it's pretty brutal. It's a lot of like, you have to be strong, right? But it's also like grit, like because it hurts everybody. Everybody's in pain. So it's just like, who can take that for the longest amount of time? Outside of that, we've done different things. Some of the competitions have, like the next one I'm doing is 3 days long, 2 events each day. The one it's called Pro Strongman League. That one's 2 days and you have 5 events each day. So it's like the different competitions, different styles. Having 2 events per day versus 5 events per day is obviously a huge thing. I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but we had a frame carry, and this is kind of off topic, but it was wild. But frame carry, it was like you carry it down and then you turn around, carry it back. And it was like 750 pounds. So I'm on my way down, kind of struggling just because it's heavy. Lights are going out a little bit. I don't know what happened first, like if I slipped or if I passed out. Either way, I ended up smacking my chin on the frame because it's in front of me too. And I mean, I'm out. I'm passed out. People are like rushing in. They're like going to grab me. And then the ref is like, no, like he's still in the frame. Like he could still pick it up. Like I'm passed out, but he's like, he can keep going. And I wake up real quick and I'm like, what is going on? I'm about 2 inches away from like the turnaround point. So I literally have to pick it up, put it 2 inches, turn around and carry it back. And I get to the end and my chin is just like gushing blood. I had to go to the ER right after that, but the announcers are like, look at his chin, like what is going on? And that was crazy, not because of the event, but because I took a little nap during it.
But you completed it. You actually
I
picked it up, turned around, and you
we
finished the
what we
whole
start
thing.
around here.
Was that the last event for the day? Or did you just like were you done with the competition? Like was that the finishing event, or did you have to like go ER, come back the next day? What was the rest of that thing like?
That was the end of day 1. Thankfully, that was the 5th event. So I did have the next day with 5 events to do. Pretty brutal. The ER, they were like, probably shouldn't go do that. I was like, yeah, we're already here, man. I was a little worried because it was like right where I got hit. I chipped a tooth with it, but it was like if I had hit farther up, I probably would have broken all my teeth, and farther down probably would have crushed my throat. So I was like, this is actually really ideal how it happened. So thankful for that,
That's like the UFC judges who shout out him. He's the real MVP for not stopping it because someone's just getting pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. He just doesn't stop it, and then he throws a haymaker punch and just wins the fight, dazed and confused. With that, do you work on any conditioning? Like I've seen it, like obviously your lifts are so heavy and everything is shorter distance, but do you guys have any dedicated conditioning in there for any of your specific
Um,
training?
I really should. So most of our events are 60 seconds. So it'll be different things, and it can be like max whatever, like max reps during that time. So you can be working the full 60 seconds. One of the events coming up in November is a sandbag steeplechase. So it's like you're taking, I think it's 300 and 325 sandbags, carrying it down, throwing it over a yoke, picking it back up, carrying it down, throwing it over a yoke, running all the way back and doing that again with the other sandbags. So there's definitely stuff that conditioning, like you need to be conditioned for that in a way that's different than like a CrossFitter would need or an endurance athlete for sure. But being able to continuously put out output at a high intensity for 60 seconds is pretty important. So I do throw in some conditioning, like with the Echo bike, stuff like that. I don't do it nearly as much as I should, but yeah.
Well, that's what my next question too was like, what's the main goal when it comes to training for this event? Is it just to like push your maximum strength levels up as high as possible so everything is kind of easier? Is there a big skill component? Are you like balancing, like we're doing a skill day, we're doing like a technical day versus a max strength day? What's your kind of goal going into a competition if you're like, I'm meeting my KPIs?
Yeah. There's different things, right? Because if you're stronger, the sandbag's easier to pick up. You're going to be able to carry it better, and then ideally move faster too. But like I'm strong enough to be able to carry it up or pick it up, get it to my chest, so to where I think I would benefit most from being more conditioned in that aspect. There's different with each event. You kind of have different targets, like the circus dumbbell press, which it's a ladder from 160 to 220, and that's the one arm dumbbell press, like over your head. So with that, it's a lot more skill because I have the strength if my form is on point, you know? So the more I dial in my form, the better I'm going to be able to perform there. And then something like the log press, I'm really trying to get to, it's a trump log. So it's 3 different weights you can choose to do, but any rep at the highest log is going to beat any amount of reps at the lower weights. So there's 290, 310, and 340. So ideally, I'm able to do at least a rep or 2 at the 340 because I really don't want to have to rep out 310. That doesn't sound like fun at all. So I'm working on that's like max strength there, trying to at least get that 1 rep.
How does that event work? You have to hit like the big log's worth 3 points, the second one's worth 2. Like how is that one?
Yeah, so you can go out and pick any log you want, but I could get, if somebody gets 10 reps at 310 and I get 1 rep at 340, I beat him. So any amount of reps at 340 is going to beat anything else.
So if nobody gets 340, then that's the only time the second one matters. If everybody ties on the 340, like if you both get 3, then that's the only time the second one comes into play?
I mean, it'll differentiate between every athlete doing it, but that's how it'll rack and stack. Like, so whoever's at 340, somebody gets 3 reps and I get 1, he beats me, but I beat everybody who only got 310 for reps.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you never do a drop set? Like it's never like you hit 2 on that 340, then you drop back down to one of the lighter ones?
Like in a competition?
Yeah, like it wouldn't do you any good if you guys both are only getting like 1 on the 340 to drop back down and like beat them there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't think I've seen an event like that. Besides, I think there was one, I forgot what they called it, like sandbag Sahara or something. And that one was like what you mentioned, this point-based system. You get points for shouldering a sandbag, lapping a sandbag, and different points for the different weighted sandbags. And you had, it was either 60 seconds or 2 minutes to just get as many points as possible. So then I would obviously try to shoulder the heaviest bag as many times as possible. But if you get too tired to do that, then you would go to the next one lower and just start trying to pick that up. But I didn't have to do that one. I didn't end up going to that comp. Thankfully, it sounds like a pain to train. But
So with your strongman journey and goal here, what is the ultimate goal? Like what would be your ultimate goal to accomplish here? Like what would be the Olympic gold medal of strongman for you?
Yeah, like I've mentioned, winning the official Strongman Games would be awesome. Winning America's Strongest Man, that's a big one. That would be awesome. For me personally, it's more about just seeing what I'm capable of. Winning the titles isn't going to bring like the money or the fame, that kind of thing. Like you'll have your moment in the sun and it's awesome to get that. But to me, it's a lot more about like my personal development and getting after it. And then I've really been leaning into like the social media side of things as well and kind of showing off that journey and using that. So as fun as I mean, obviously I'm going to set the goal to win these competitions because I'm here, I'm doing the sport. But for me personally, that's not really in game, you know?
Dude, and that's one of the things that I love about your page. And there's so many people like that where it's like there's so many small like communities of fitness throughout there's so many, I mean, just like from rec league basketball warriors that I've seen guys blow up on Instagram and like, but all it is just like making movement fun, like finding a way to like give people a purpose to train and like something to look up to. And you mentioned that you train general population people, like where you're like just trying to get them to go on a walk. And I would say a lot of our clientele online is the general pop, but it's usually ex-athlete general pop, so it's a little bit easier. So like they have at least an athletic background in some regard, or like they're weekend warriors. But the process of like training them, are you using strongman stuff to motivate them? Like a big thing that a lot of stuff that we do is like still incorporating some of their athletic movements in their training program, just because it gets them like feeling like an athlete again and like motivated to go train. What's your like process with a lot of these general pop people? Are you exposing them to any of the strongman stuff? Is it's like what's your approach there?
Yeah, I mean, people come to me from different backgrounds, like whether it's like purely like I've never worked out or I'm looking to get into strongman competitions. So, but people come to me because they like the approach to fitness that's like getting after general strength. It's not just powerlifting, that kind of thing. It's not Olympic weightlifting, but it's about being generally strong in the body you have and being able to kind of use that in the real world. Obviously, depending on the client and their level, I can't just put my training program on them and like they would break, you know, like, so I
I
can't
mean,
do
most
that.
people
A lot of
can't
people don't
clean
have,
press 340.
yeah, a lot of people don't even have like a lot of the strongman implements, but people will have like sandbags or dumbbells to do farmer's carries, or they don't even do like overhead press generally until like they start working with me. So that kind of stuff. It's more about focusing on general strength and that kind of training, and that taking that from strongman, whether they're able to have the strongman implements or not.
Well, and that's a question that I have for you too, because that's been something I've really enjoyed. And I got really good at this when my first gym was like a 400 square foot closet. And like I had to find ways to be so creative with like we didn't have every implement. We had barely any machines, and like finding creative ways to make just training fun and interesting for them to show up, but also just to like again that general strength aspect, exposing the athletes to some of these different loaded movements. What's your process? Because you were talking about like not a lot of gyms have this strongman equipment to like spice up that training, give them some of that general qualities, or is it traditional like barbell strength work?
Yeah, so a lot of it is barbell strength work. I've said a lot, like if you're a strong person, you're going to be able to be like strong, like a good strong man. Like if you wanted to get into that competitive side of things. Otherwise, I mean, you can do the general barbell strength work, incorporating more overhead work than people would generally do that I see. Doing things as well like the power cleans or the high pulls, or kind of the push pressing stuff you don't generally see in like a people doing in a commercial gym, at least from what I've seen. And then also getting after like farmer's carries or some Zercher squats, like that kind of stuff.
And when they're doing
So
the farmers carry stuff, are you using anything like it just straight up dumbbells? Is there any like fun ways that you're programming some of that farmers carry stuff?
The
That's been
farmer's
what I
carry.
love to program for online clients. I'd love to know if you have any like spice there.
Yeah, so generally I'll just have like a distance, like set in distance that they'll do. Sometimes if I'll have the sandbag stuff, we use that for some of their conditioning. Like I want you to basically it's 20 feet, you have 30 seconds. I want you carrying it down and back as many times as possible. Which they both love and hate, you know, but that's been fun.
with your social media, obviously you've grown to like a pretty successful page and you seem to put out very like, authentic content that gets people going. When did that start? Was it something that you've done for a long time, or is it something that just came about out of necessity? I know a lot of people started around that COVID age when we're training at home and weren't around any other people, but did you start much before then, or was that kind of the same origin period as well?
Yeah, so almost a year ago right now, I think in November, I really started pushing it hard. I had about 8,000 followers back in November of 24. Um, and I said this in the podcast that you mentioned. I've spent a long time figuring out what doesn't work on social media. And then that's when I decided to really take it serious, try some different stuff, get in front of the camera, started showing my personality a little bit more, and tried to post every single day. And since then, I've been able to grow. Now I'm at like 143. So it's been some pretty amazing progress that I've been fortunate to see over the last year, which has also been good. I've been fortunate because I have this job where I'm being able to focus on strongman and training, and my whole role is outreach. It's really gone hand in hand that uh, as I've grown my page, more people hear about the Warrior Fitness team, more people hear about this opportunity in the Army that's getting out there, even more people learning about middleweight strongman. So it's been cool that I've been able to be a vehicle for that outreach, both for the sport and for the Army. And it's awesome that it can be mutually beneficial to where I'm also growing my personal brand, you know?
Yeah, dude, that's the perfect setup you got going right there. What doesn't work on social media? You said you spent a long time learning what doesn't
Yeah.
work on social media. What is that for you?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I was trying to just post my lifts, you know, like post my heavy deadlifts. Like I'm deadlifting 700 pounds. I should have a lot of followers, that kind of thing. It's stuff that like I feel like is very ego fueled and almost entitled. And it took me realizing like, man, nobody cares about that stuff. Like there's unfortunately, like that's a dime a dozen these days, like seeing the crazy physique, seeing the crazy lifts on social media. You really need to be able to show more of who you are, I think, and why like have your personality, more value. I started realizing too, it's like, would I watch this? Would this be valuable to me? And sometimes, yes, I like seeing crazy lifts. Other times it's like, no, dude, that's a terrible video that I just put out and I just thought it should work because it's me. Like that's just ego. So trying to take away some of that ego stuff and actually put out value and put out Stuff that can help people, you know. It's crazy that when you start trying to help other people, it actually works way better for yourself too.
What's one of your worst ideas that you thought was going to be great and just took a ton of effort and it came out the other end just a
That's a good
steaming
question.
pile?
As far as like a post goes,
Yeah, post or just like, and it couldn't even be a post. Maybe it was just like an idea. We talked to the deadliest lift guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I tried to put together some ideas, and they just are terrible. They just don't go anywhere. They required so much effort, and then I see it at the end, and I don't even bother sending it out there. Have you had any
really?
like that?
Oh, I'm sure I've had some I've done that just don't end up panning out. Um, Nothing comes to mind. Thankfully, his setup's crazy. Deadliest lift. Haven't done too much stuff like that. But I mean, even at like when you have 140,000 followers, you start getting in that trap of like, man, this post didn't do as good as I thought it might. And you start getting like sad. And it's like, dude, you disconnect from that. Like you're doing fine. Like stop and just got to keep posting. So it's like whether something does good or not, it's like you're fine. Keep going.
Dude, I feel like that's like it's kind of a twofold thing because like the analytics on the post do kind of give you good data points for like what
Mm-hmm.
is good in it. I think that does expedite your ability to like know what a good post is and what isn't. Like it's a good learning tool. But I also like I've been thinking about this like if there was a social media where they just took away analytics, I feel like you would see so many more creative people coming out and like just being able to put their artwork out. Like the amount of coaches, man, that we do like consults with where they're talking about just how scared they are to post on social media because like if something doesn't do good, something doesn't do good, you know what I mean? Like if we could eliminate that pressure for some of these people, I just feel like there's so much hidden talent or so much like hidden genius that they're just not confident enough or they just like aren't goofballs enough to be able to actually put that stuff out there and we're missing out on that a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I like I just said, I think that's also there at like every level where you start kind of getting in your own head and you kind of just have to be cognizant of that and try to step away from that. And also know that just because say you've put out you keep posting and posting one, maybe if it's not working, your quality does need some work. But sometimes you just that you're chipping away, you know, and you don't see the value or the growth yet, but it's coming and you're kind of just putting that investment into yourself, into your page. And then maybe you have an next video that goes viral because you put in 99 that didn't do anything. And then people go see that value you have there and they love your page and they stay to see what else you got to put out.
Dude, yes. I talk to people so much about that. And it's so cool because it's a twofold thing. Like, not only are you building something that does have value, so when you're lottery, I talk about it being like a lottery ticket to grab. It's like that lottery ticket, the algorithm like that one, it goes bang bang. Then they can come to your page and see you're not just a one-hit person. Like you have so much content there. But two, it also refines your own ability. Like it's a skill set to be good at this stuff. Like I'm sure you've gone through this where like now you are so natural on camera and it's like you can just tell like you're just pressing record and just being you and the process to get to that point. And again, I talk about this too. It's like kind of just like being a good basketball player or not. Like some people are just born with it, some people weren't. But that doesn't mean you still everybody has to work on it. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to talk about these things not working, I think it's a rep game. Just like getting better at a
Yeah.
squat is like you can get better at being in front of a camera and talking.
It's funny you mentioned that because I'm working with I do social media for some of the CrossFit stuff too. So getting them in front of the camera where they're not as like social media inclined. Um, and it's uncomfortable and I completely understand. It's like public speaking. Not everybody's great at public speaking right away, but it's a skill you develop, you know, and it's weird to talk to a camera and sit in there. Now I'm doing long form like YouTube vlogs and I'm literally in there, no music on, talking to myself for an hour every day. And yeah, that's weird and it's uncomfortable at first, but you get used to it and you build that skill, you know, and it is a skill.
Dude, I've been ripping the YouTubes this past year or two, and it's dude, it's so funny to think about like somebody watching from the outside of like you're just I don't know, man. It's so like what's it called? Where you like live in a you live in like a simulation where people are watching you just like talk to yourself, but you know you're talking to somebody else, but you're sitting there
Yeah.
with a mic. I've thought about that so many times. Like somebody looking at this at a third eye view is gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's funny, but to me it's like they're my like gym partner, you know, when I'm talking to them and obviously it's weird because they're not in the gym with me. They're a camera at like you know, but I do get that feedback. Yes, it's delayed, but then those questions come through the comments or stuff like that to talk about next video. So it's weird if someone's watching me and they're talking to my people, my audience. And it's like, yes, I'm talking to myself, but I am talking to people that I have a genuine like connection with. That's obviously a little disconnected and delayed, but it is there.
Dude, the gym partner is the perfect term for it though, because that's actually exactly how I feel. And it's like it's not for me anyways. Like I get not everybody's like this, but I wonder if you've found this too, where it's actually nice. Like because like training alone by yourself all the time fucking sucks sometimes, man. And like it does feel nice. And the cool thing too, it's like you have the community, and then there's a couple of my buddies that are doing YouTube videos too, and like they will do a like a challenge or a movement or a jump, and now you have like other gym partners that are also content creators that are like making their videos, and you can like make the videos off of them, but not having to fully train alone and actually have like that gym partner, I think is like, have you found that to be the case as well, where it kind of helps training?
Yeah, it's cool. It also kind of, so I program for myself, which isn't really something I'd recommend for a lot of people, because I'm a bad client if we're being honest. But it's helpful if I start a video and I'm like, yeah, today we're doing this. I'm gonna do
And you
some
have to
cardio.
do it.
And I'm like, man, I told them I'm doing it, so they're gonna know that I bailed if at the end of this video I don't do it. So that's good. That weird social pressure that I'm putting on myself from recording it. But yeah,
I don't skip my Bulgarians, bro.
I told them, because then then the people I work with are gonna watch my videos and be like, man, why should I do it if you're not doing it?
Well, I was actually going to ask about that. I think it's important too. Like you coach people, you're an athlete. Where do you take you just said that you program for yourself, so you don't have like an outside coach. Where do you take your training from? Like what has been the biggest influence on your training? Have you had a coach in the past, or is it
Yeah.
something you would maybe look for in the future? Or what has that process been for you?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple people. One guy named Terry Rady. He was great. He works with a lot of top level strongmen. Me for myself, I mentioned I'm a bad client. I think I'm a bad client for anybody, not just for myself. It's worse when it's just for me, but still. And I'm very I like to be pretty fluid with my training, or like how I'm feeling on a day. So that's kind of why I've gone back to just kind of working like myself. I think I need to have more structure than I do, but yeah, where are we going with this? One day I might get back to working with a coach, but I also think I know my weaknesses better than a lot of people would, and having a coach, it needs to be a pretty intimate relationship. So picking the right one's pretty important too, I think.
Yeah, dude, the hack I found for the athletic journey, because I had to ban myself from programming for myself. I was the worst client. Like if I would just go either full auto regulation. If I wasn't just feeling good, I would just cut my percentages by like 20% and be like, yeah, this is like a recovery day, or like skip the
Yeah.
one. So like having the structure, but like I'm also really weird. Like if I hate, the worst thing is when a coach sends out a program 3 weeks at a time, dude. I cannot do that. If I know everything that's gonna go, it turns into like too much of a like robot computer calculation. So like I've been finding coaches where it's like they send you weekly programs has been an absolute hack for me to be able to like
Really?
not be able to look forward to it. And then with for my own like personal thing, I have a coach for like the lifting side of it, but I do my own sprinting, my own jumping, and just that little like piece of candy I give myself where I can have a little variation at the beginning. It has absolutely saved me from being the worst client in the world, because that was absolutely me before. I'd either get super bored because it was like so structured, or I would do way too much variation in my own training. And by variation, I mean not doing the hard things I'm supposed to be doing that day.
Yeah. I think it was also really important for me to have somebody with more experience in the strongman world as I was getting kind of into it, because there's a lot of things with different movements that are intricate, and people that have been doing it know the little tips and tricks that really change a lift. Like sandbag to shoulder, I was really bad at for a long time until I figured it out. Now I just did 370 pounds and it's pretty easy. So it's like knowing the right techniques is really important, and that comes from working with someone that's been there before, has that experience. Now that I'm a little bit farther down the road in my own journey, I think I need that a little bit less, and that's kind of more of where the self-coaching is able to be good.
We talked about it at the beginning, and I think it's one thing you said in your post of fatigue maxing. And we talked about it in a few other episodes of high level outputs accrue high costs. And so you benching or you pressing overhead is going to be a much higher absolute load and output than me doing it. So, it's going to take a little bit more. How do you balance that recovery piece or like doing all the modalities that you see on social media. Like I need to recover, I need to ice bath, I need to do all this with getting in the way of your actual training.
Yeah, I'm pretty caveman in this regard. Like the ice bath, I would throw that away. But that kind of stuff, and I think we mentioned this too. Like sometimes you just have to perform, and I think people have gotten a little soft, thinking like if I don't have this or do this, like I can't go perform, I can't go make it happen. That's kind of where the joke of the fatigue maxing came in. People say fatigue management, they got to do all this, they got to have this perfect setup where they're not moving part of their arm or whatever, and it's like, dude, that doesn't matter. Go pick up a heavy deadlift, go pick up a heavy sandbag. Should everybody finish a set of 635 into a 270-pound sandbag? No, that was obviously like me just goofing around. But I do think people take sometimes the training too serious and kind of take all of that and get a little soft. Like, I need this to be perfect. Like, it's not true. People used to go hunt without eating for days. Like, back in the prehistoric times, like you'll be fine. And some of that other stuff, I know you mentioned, like the rope climb videos, that kind of stuff, like not all of that is really ideal for my strongman competitions. And I think I've mentioned some people when there's been like a challenge on Instagram or something, and I was like, are you going to do this? They're like, no, right now I'm in competition prep. So, all right, you're soft. I don't know, it's like, should maybe I focus on that and not do all this other stuff? Yeah, maybe, but I don't. Just go do hard things, man. You'll be fine. I don't know.
What's your process of getting an athlete, like a first time clientele, to do hard things? Because this is one thing I think I've switched my mindset on a little bit in the past like couple of years, just bringing in these high schoolers. It's like actually realizing like learning how to work hard is a skill set. You know what I mean? Like I used to be much more like full on mental toughness, and I'm like, and that's a piece of it. I'm like, like I just got lucky with my environment that I grew up in. Like Tristan and I, from a super small, like it's just like the culture we were raised in, it's secondhand. And then you hear about some of these people's backgrounds, you're like, you just haven't been exposed to that ability to like work hard, and like you don't know what it is. I think like in the RPE system, you can learn a lot about an athlete just asking them what they like, how hard do they think it was, and then showing them a video and like, dude, like these things are not matching up at all. Like you're lying to yourself, not lying to yourself, but you don't actually know. Like you don't actually know what grinding
Yeah.
is. You don't actually know what hard work is. And you talked about again working with clients where it's like they haven't worked out at all before. And I've been loving this process of like getting people to realize like what hard work is, what consistency is. And it's a light bulb for them. It's like it clicks and it goes, and it's super cool to see when that happens. What's your like journey like with these clients and athletes, especially in like a state that you're in where like, again, you talked about it's a habit for you at this point. It's not something you're actively thinking about all the time. So you have to like take 7 steps back in your journey to relate to these clients, but that's what all good coaches do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be different for like each person, as it's kind of figuring out who they are and like what works with them, what doesn't work for them. But I do think it can be that you're just keeping at it and pointing out those things. Like when they shoot you a video, like, man, I rated this a 9 out of 10. And then they're doing like 5 easy reps. And it's like, all right, man, you had more in the tank, whether you knew it or not. At the same time, like we've mentioned, I think it is kind of like that snowball, and it's like at the beginning, maybe they don't know what's hard or not. And it takes maybe a few years in the gym to be like, I know what I'm capable of, or I know I can do more. I've had a client who she was afraid to hit a plate, like a 135 back squat. Mind you, a week later, she was hitting 165 for reps. And it's like, it's not because she can't do it or she doesn't have the strength. It's because she's got this mental limiting belief or something. And it's like, if you just PR'd at 135 and you hit 6 reps, I hate to tell you this, but you have way more, and we're not near the peak of what you are capable of. So it is a process, and just letting people kind of learn what they're capable of, let their body is capable of. Not everybody's body is conditioned to be able to do some of the things I do, and I do think I need to be cognizant of that before I send somebody off to do the stuff, because they could get hurt, and that's true. And that's real. I mean, I could get hurt. Anybody can get hurt doing a lot of things. But yeah.
So you just mentioned getting hurt. What is, do you think, the key to resilience for some of these strongman competitions? Because I mean, when I see them, like you're in some pretty compromised positions, moving very unorthodox implements, and seemingly doing it well. Like moving a 370-pound sandbag is for a lot of people, a lot of population, a 370-pound deadlift would just be good. Like on the Army Combat Fitness test, I think 345 was like the max weight on a trap bar,
Yeah.
and you're picking up a awkward sandbag and shouldering it. So what do you
Yeah.
think the key for your resilience, and like how do you implement that into your training to be strong in these more real world positions?
Yeah. So I think you'll hear, or at least I did, getting into like the strength and conditioning community or just talking to your buddies. It's like, yeah, you really want, like, as a joke, you really want to pick that up, like jerk and twist with it, like, because you obviously don't want to be doing that in those different positions. And then with strongman, you're going to be having your spine twisted or bent over, pulling only with your back, picking up random rocks, like all these different things. But it all goes back to like the same principles of like progressive overload. You're not doing that on day one. You're training your back muscles, your body to be in these compromised positions and building that strength through these different ranges of motion. And again, learning kind of little by little what you're capable of and that your body is more capable than you thought it was. It goes kind of back to, if you think you need to be in this perfect position with all this training equipment on to do this lift, like, you don't, and that's soft, and you can do it a little bit more. But it does take like training that way and doing it little by little so that you don't get hurt, because you could, but if you're used to it and your body is used to it, you're going to be a lot safer in that regard.
And are you, what was that?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, are you letting the sport, because your sport is an unorthodox training sport. So like when I'm training, a lot of my athletes will grab from strongman just because like their traditional training background is, it's like barbell squats, bench, deadlift. Like there's not a lot of twisting. There's not a lot of rotating. There's not a lot of like that different strength, like the real life strength, the functional strength, whatever you want to call it, where there are awkward
Yeah.
positions when you do have to pick these things up. Are you just letting your sport, because it already involves all these things, take care of that? Or are you programming different accessories to kind of work on some of those compromised positions? Or was there a journey to like, okay, I was accessorizing, now I do the event at such a high level that I'm prepared for that?
I would say generally I just use primarily the events and stuff like Atlas stone loading or the sandbag loading. I used to get so many comments about like, stop lifting with just your back on the stones. It's like, do you know how to pick up an Atlas stone? Because there's not a lot of ways to do it differently. Like you can't fit your whatever. You can't just squat it up. It doesn't work like that. But different things. I mean, you'll do kettlebell swings, which is a little bit different, like getting the posterior chain like moving in that different pattern. I don't tend to train with like twisting with a barbell in any way, that kind of thing, but more just getting used to doing like sandbag to shoulder at like lighter weights, and then you get better at it at heavier weights and stuff.
Have you found strongman strength transferring to your barbell lifts? Like the one thing in it, it's they're both barbells, but even just watching my Olympic lifting journey, like doing all my ollies now, like has made squatting or like just pressing or whatever it is, deadlifting by itself, a such a simple activity because there's just a little athletic component to the Olympic lifts that it has made them almost so much easier. Like I can go squat up and down at way more weight than I was doing before because there's no like big thought process going into it because I just did the ollies that were like way more complex. Have you found that like transfer at all?
Um, in a way. So my actual like absolute bench squat deadlift, they haven't changed a ton in like the last honestly 4 years. I stopped benching a while back. I stopped squatting because it's not as important. I still squat, but it's like I'm not pushing my PR, if that makes sense. I hit 610 in 2021 and I kind of have just accepted that. And then I deadlifted I think 700 then, and now I've done like up to 750 because the deadlift's obviously more important for strongman, but kind of like you mentioned, it's like when I go hit a weight or like something like a squat or something, but I just finished throwing a 200-pound circus dumbbell overhead with one arm, and then I go do it on something else. It's like, all right, this isn't heavy. I just did it this other way, or I just put a 370 sandbag on my shoulder. Like I should be able to, I can squat, pick this up, do this, whatever. And it's like I've gotten better at moving weight for longer or for more reps, I think, at higher weights as well.
Well, the post that made me think of that question is I think you were doing like a split jerk at like 375 pounds, which is like an
Yeah.
elite Olympic lifting split jerk. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe not like Olympic, but
Behind the neck. All right. I've done behind the neck. So
but
it's
it was
kinda
like,
cheating.
damn, is that, I wonder if that's like the fact you just walked on it. Like, is that something you're active, like the split jerk? Is that something you're actively training, or was that like show up that day and hit 375? Because that's insane.
Didn't. I started training that movement off blocks because it was in America's Strongest Man. So I started training that a few months out, I guess. The barbell split jerk off blocks. The most I had ever pressed on anything was like 320 on log. And then because I'd never been able to push my barbell stuff. And that's another reason I love strongman, because it's like it's got the powerlifting, it's got the if you're get really good at Olympic weightlifting, you're going to be great at some of the stuff for strongman. So it was really cool to be able to focus on kind of the barbell split jerk for a while. And I went from the first time I attempted behind the neck, I think I got up to maybe 300 or 310. And I finished that prep. I think I hit 405 or something, maybe even a little like 410 or something, which was crazy. And it's awesome. And I love strongman because of the fact that I still have so many areas to grow. I told you I haven't improved my bench squat deadlift a ton in the last 4 years, but I did that in like 3 months, like that kind of progress. So there's so many different areas that I can still get better at.
Oh yeah. Am I lagging here?
Nope,
No, you're
you're all good.
Okay, perfect. I was getting a little video scare there. I was gonna have Tristan rip that one next one. But yeah, that being able to hit that split jerk, I was watching that. I was like, that's insane. If I can do that, I will be able to snatch 315, which is the current goal to be able to rip. But I want to kind of wrap this podcast up in like traditional Yoakum strength form, where we ask a question at the very end that we should have asked at the very beginning. But you mentioned that you were a soccer player when you started out. How did you, and I want to know this question too, do you think you're the first soccer player that has became a professional strongman? But how did you go from soccer to strongman? What was that jump like? Because trying to get my soccer athletes to train at all makes me want to shoot myself in the head. So how did you go from that like culture into the exact opposite culture?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned like even as a soccer player, I always liked being like the bigger, stronger player. I was like a center back for most of my soccer career, so it always kind of was advantageous to be a little bit bigger. Did that all the way up my whole childhood into high school, wrestled in high school, got into college where I was an assistant strength coach for the basketball and the golf team, which was fun. And that's where I found out, hey, the Army has this fitness team thing with strongman. And I'm like, I'm already training because I was more of like the power building type thing where you're just trying to look good and be strong and feel good. And then I was like, I'm already pretty strong. Might as well just try to make it. If I can do it as a job, why not try, So I went after that. So it was kind of just, I don't know. Flow.
Were you hooked right away?
With the strongman stuff?
Yeah.
I love it. I love just being I've always loved being strong, and then powerlifting didn't really get after everything I wanted. It's like it gets boring just trying to get after those 3 lifts and make those strong. And then strongman has the powerlifting aspect, the Olympic weightlifting aspect, all the different fun stuff and rocks. So it's like you can't do that.
Do you have any other athletic pursuits or even maybe non-athletic pursuits that you fill your time with too, to almost de-stress or have another avenue to put your interest towards? Like, are you a big golfer, or do you have any other like very niche hobbies that you would like to talk about?
Niche hobbies.
Handstands.
That's funny. I actually just put out a video where I was like, I need more hobbies. Like, help me out. That blew up on TikTok. There's thousands of people answering that because I mentioned something about trying to get into like forging because I think that would be sick. A lot of my time right now goes to the strongman, my Army job, social media for sure, and like the coaching stuff. I flipped a house earlier this year because I was pretty into real estate. And when I was doing that, like I did all the work myself minus some of the more like electrical stuff because I'm not very talented in that regard. But I spent a lot of time doing that. But yeah, just keeping busy with that stuff primarily.
Fuck yeah, dude. Tristan, you got anything else? Oh, dude, appreciate you coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. It was fun.
Thank you guys for listening. Keep chopping wood.
Thank you for listening. Join us next week as we dive down another rabbit hole. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star rating. Follow us on Instagram at Austin Yoakum to stay updated on future podcast guests. Keep chopping wood.